Rainy day. I asked my husband to pick me up after work. He refused, saying he was working overtime. But when I ran to the bus stop in the rain, my husband's car happened to pass by and splashed water all over me. At that very moment, his female colleague also updated her status, "Lucky to have you." Or I would have been stuck in the rain. The accompanying picture was a side profile photo of my husband driving. This time I've decided to let go. The heavy rain had been falling for a long time. By the time I got home, I was completely soaked. My husband Dean had just finished washing up and was coming out of the bathroom. He was taken aback by my appearance. "What happened to you?" "Because of the rain," I answered calmly, without making a fuss. At this time in the past, I would definitely have had a big fight with him. I would accuse him of not caring about me, and I would act like a madwoman, and he would watch my crazy actions with cold eyes. When I was tired from making a scene, he would say, "Had enough," and now, I stopped making a fuss. He, on the other hand, became uneasy. "Are you out of your mind?" I remained silent, slowly showing him the post his female colleague had shared. For a moment he was flustered, but quickly acted as if it were only natural. His tone grew more intense. "Are you getting jealous over nothing again?" When I said I had to work overtime, it was true. I finished the proposal later. It was raining too hard. Jessica couldn't get home. I couldn't just leave her, could I? I didn't argue, just took off my soaked coat on my own. Seeing that I was ignoring him, he became even more worked up. "What, are you going to make a fuss with me over such a small thing? You're ridiculous, Dean. She can't get home in the rain and needs you to pick her up, so I don't need that. Is that it? How can you be the same as her? I haven't picked you up these past few years, and you've been just fine." As soon as these words were spoken, we all fell silent instantly. That's right, no matter the wind or rain, Dean never came to pick me up. Even during the peak of our romance, he would use the excuse of wanting me to be independent and make me squeeze onto the bus by myself. But now he would go out of his way to take a female colleague home. No matter how far it was, Dean never wanted to comfort me. Even when he knew he had said something wrong, he looked at me somewhat awkwardly, snorted lightly, and turned back to the bedroom, leaving me alone, standing there in a daze. I began to wonder why I had ever been with someone like that in the first place. Was it the brokenness of my family that made me so drawn to and lost in the slightest affection others offered? That night, I lay in the guest room bed, listening to the gentle patter of rain outside the window. Tears silently fell. The details I had deliberately ignored now flooded my mind like a tide. Early the next morning, I got up and began to organize my belongings. Dean frowned when he saw me busy after getting up. "What are you doing?" "I've made up my mind. Let's get a divorce." He seemed to have heard the biggest joke of his life. "Just because of this, you want a divorce? Do you think you're some young girl, still playing these games?" "Dean, this isn't an impulse, it's the accumulation of disappointment I have for you." My tone was incredibly calm. "All these years, I've been treading carefully in this relationship, but you've never truly cared about me. You're just being too sensitive. There's really nothing between me and Jessica." I stopped arguing with him and just sped up my packing. In the days that followed, Dean thought I was just throwing a tantrum and continued with his usual routine of going to and from work. As for me, I began to replan my life. I contacted a lawyer to arrange a reasonable division of property regarding the divorce. One day, Dean came home and saw me video chatting with a divorce lawyer. His face turned very unpleasant. He demanded, "What exactly do you want? Are you still not planning to end this farce? This is not a joke." As I spoke, I handed him the divorce agreement. "Take a look, and if you have no objections, sign it." He flew into a rage and threw the agreement to the ground. "Lillian, are you taking yourself too seriously? Do you think playing hard to get will keep me under your control? I advise you not to play these little girl games, they don't suit you." Just as I was about to retort, his phone rang with an incoming call notification. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed the contact name was Jessica. Dean's face instantly turned somewhat unnatural. He avoided eye contact and instinctively tried to hide his phone, but I caught all of this. The subtle clues I had once overlooked now intertwined endlessly in my mind. I remember how he would sit at the dining table countless times, a smile playing at the corner of his mouth as he looked at his phone. When sleeping, he would turn his back to me to reply to messages, occasionally letting out a chuckle. He would even leave me behind during our occasional meals out because of a phone call. Back then, he always used being busy with work as an excuse. They said the boss was looking for him. Now it seems, it wasn't the boss at all. Jessica is more like it. "It seems you and Jessica really are just ordinary colleagues, getting so nervous just answering a call. Don't be unreasonable. She just had something work-related to discuss with me." After saying that, he walked a few steps away to the balcony. He deliberately lowered his voice and stepped aside to speak quietly. Although I couldn't hear what they were saying, From the way he kept glancing at me nervously, I could guess the gist of it. I ignored him, bent down to pick up the divorce agreement from the floor, and gently brushed off the dust. After hanging up the phone, Dean tried to ease the tension. "Don't overthink it. Jessica just asked me a work-related question. Let's not get divorced over such trivial matters, it's not worth it." I sneered. "A small matter. It's all small matters in your eyes, but not in mine. Take a good look at this agreement. Give me your answer within a week, or I'll have to resolve this through legal means." With that, I turned and walked into the room, leaving Dean alone in the living room. Over the next few days, Dean seemed to be deliberately trying to win me over. He would bring small gifts home after work and take the initiative to help with household chores. Jessica no longer updated her social media as frequently as before. The last post read, "I understand you. You're so pitiful." A week later, I placed the divorce agreement in front of Dean again. His face turned very gloomy. "If you keep making a scene, Lillian, I've had enough of you these past few days. My mother isn't feeling well and is coming from our hometown tomorrow. Take her to the hospital for a checkup." He said it so matter-of-factly, but I had no reason to refuse. My mother-in-law treated me extremely well. It could be said that a big reason I made up my mind to marry Dean was because of my mother-in-law. 2 years ago, I was hospitalized due to illness. Dean is too busy with work and doesn't have time to take care of me. My father, on the other hand, used business trips as an excuse not to visit me in the hospital. My mother also refused to come take care of me, citing the need to look after my younger siblings. At that time, I endured the pain alone and went through the hospitalization procedures by myself. After undergoing general anesthesia surgery, I took care of myself. When I was desperate and helpless, it was my mother-in-law who came from our hometown to the hospital. She took care of me meticulously, and I even gained 5 pounds by the time I was discharged. Despite the disappointment and anger I felt towards Dean, but thinking of my mother-in-law, I really couldn't bring myself to refuse. "Alright, when Mom comes up this time, I'll make it clear to her that we're getting a divorce." Dean didn't take it seriously, thinking I was just trying to manipulate him. He never believed I had the courage to divorce him. "Divorce? After divorcing me? Where will you live? Your parents won't agree to let you go back, will they?" He looked at me mockingly, as if wanting to see me break down, to see me caught off guard. Yet I looked back at him, calm and unruffled. "I can live on my own. I must learn to love myself, no longer craving the love of my parents or my husband." The next day, I went to the station early to pick up my mother-in-law. Seeing her familiar and kind face, my eyes instantly welled up with tears. My mother-in-law held my hand, her face full of concern. "Lillian, are you and Dean having a disagreement? He's been calling me these past few days, and he sounds so distracted. Let's go to the hospital for the checkup first. After that, I'll tell you about what's going on between us." I took my mother-in-law to the hospital for her checkup. While waiting for the results, my mother-in-law pulled me aside to chat about everyday matters. "Lillian, oh Lillian, Mom knows that Dean sometimes isn't very considerate, but he does care about you in his heart. Don't let the two of you get into a big fight over some small matter." I nodded silently, unsure how to respond. The test results came out. The doctor said that my mother-in-law's health is fine, just need to pay attention to daily diet and rest. Hearing this news, my anxious heart finally settled. Back home, Dean saw us, with a barely noticeable tension on his face. "Mom, how are the test results?" "Nothing serious. Don't you two worry," my mother-in-law said with a smile. After dinner, my mother-in-law went back to her room to rest. I and Dean sat in the living room, the atmosphere a bit awkward. "Mom will stay at home for a few more days. Take good care of her. This is what I should do. After all, my mother-in-law has been so good to me." In the following days, my mother-in-law stayed at our house. She always tried, intentionally or unintentionally, to bring me and Dean together. I didn't take it to heart. I continued to communicate with the lawyer about the divorce proceedings. I also took the time to check the bank transaction records. I discovered that over the past 2 years, Dean has been sending money transfers to Jessica during every holiday. I also found a shopping receipt in his car that he hadn't had time to throw away. He bought a bag worth 50,000. The purchase was made just 2 days ago. That was the day my mother-in-law came up from her hometown, so that day, she went shopping with Jessica. I sent all of this to the lawyer. "Can I get this money back?" "Of course. The evidence is detailed and complete. You can recover your half." I felt relieved. To gain the upper hand in the divorce, I secretly installed surveillance cameras in the house. There's surveillance in his car as well. Of course, I want a divorce. But how could I be willing to let him off so easily? I want him to leave with nothing. That evening, I came home from work. I accidentally saw Dean and Jessica meeting at the entrance of the residential area. The two were standing very close, chatting happily. Pretending to be heartbroken, I rushed forward and confronted Dean. You said there was nothing between you and her, so why are you still meeting? We just happened to run into each other and chatted for a bit. Nearby, Jessica said coldly. Sis-in-law, don't go too far, there's nothing between us. I looked at the two of them and sneered inwardly, bastards, and they still have the nerve to claim innocence, but I can't let it show. Before I have all the evidence, I need to make Dean let his guard down. I'm going to catch him off guard. Innocent. Do you need to stand that close to talk? Jessica looked at me with disdain. In her eyes, I was just an easy-to-manipulate, useless romantic fool, a jealous and haggard housewife. She looked down on me, thinking I wasn't even worthy of shining her shoes. Are you a jealous woman who thinks every woman approaching your husband has ulterior motives? If your husband treats you poorly, it's your own incompetence for not being able to control your man. After saying this, she seemed to have suffered a great humiliation and stormed off angrily. Dean hurried after her, and as he passed by me, he didn't forget to glare at me and shoved me to the ground forcefully. I fell to the ground, staring expressionlessly at the two figures walking away one after the other. Back home, my mother-in-law noticed something was off and asked with concern. I couldn't hold back any longer and told her everything about Dean and Jessica. After hearing it, she remained silent for a long time, then sighed and said, Lillian, our Fu family has wronged you. Don't worry, I won't favor anyone. If you've truly made up your mind, I support you. I burst into tears in my mother-in-law's arms. When Dean returned, he was met with a severe beating from his mother. Dean screamed in agony. I hid in my room, laughing triumphantly. Beat that bastard to death. After my waterlogged love-addled brain cleared up, I felt completely refreshed. After that, I still appeared cold and distant towards Dean on the surface, but secretly, I accelerated the pace of gathering evidence. I carefully reviewed the surveillance footage. Not missing any detail that could prove his infidelity, every piece of evidence was properly preserved by me. I have woven an invisible web for Dean. As time passed, Dean seemed to truly let his guard down. I thought I had stopped making a fuss. He became even more convinced that I had indeed been playing hard to get earlier. He sneered at me. What? Have you finally calmed down? Indeed, who else would marry you after leaving me? I suppressed the disgust in my heart, forcing the corners of my mouth to lift into a seemingly docile smile. Yes, I've been thinking a lot during this time. I was too immature before. Dean nodded with satisfaction, his arrogant expression making me want to throw the evidence in my hand right in his face. After that, his dates with Jessica became increasingly brazen. Sometimes, he would deliberately answer Jessica's calls in front of me. The words were full of affection, the eyes still carrying a hint of provocation, as if showing off his charm to me, and I, every time, pretended not to care, yet silently noted these details in my heart. Making the chain of evidence more complete, he doesn't want to divorce me because of the special nature of his job, and it just so happens to coincide with a critical stage of his promotion, at this moment. If something like an affair or divorce were to come to light, it would be a devastating blow to his career. So, even though he already despises me, he can't divorce me, because he's afraid I'll make a scene. He was willing to lower himself to coax me a while ago. Now that he sees I'm not making a fuss, he's completely let his guard down. His interactions with Jessica have become increasingly frequent. Sometimes, he would even use work as an excuse to rush out the door right in front of his mother. Little did he know that every move he made was under my control, and after learning the truth, my mother-in-law became even more caring and concerned about me. She often sighed quietly, as if feeling ashamed of her son's behavior. One day, I received a message from my lawyer. The evidence is more than sufficient to make Dean pay for what he has done in the divorce lawsuit. A sense of satisfaction surged within me. The time for revenge had finally come. I meticulously planned a family gathering. Invited Dean's mother and some of his relatives. Dean was still smugly thinking that I was going to reconcile with him in front of everyone. When everyone had gathered, I turned on the projector, displayed Dean and Jessica's intimate videos, chat records, and those shopping receipts as evidence one by one. The scene erupted into chaos. Dean's face turned from red to pale, and finally ashen. He flusteredly tried to explain, but faced with irrefutable evidence, everything seemed so futile. Dean's relatives were too shocked to speak. They always felt that Dean, though cold-natured, never fooled around. The mother-in-law was even moved to tears, and those relatives all cast contemptuous glances at Dean. Amid the crowd's accusations, Dean angrily rushed toward me, trying to snatch the evidence. I stood my ground without a trace of fear. At that moment, my mother-in-law stepped forward, shielding me, and scolded Dean loudly. How dare you lose your temper at Lillian after doing such a disgraceful thing? Dean collapsed to the ground like a deflated balloon. After a long while, He finally snapped back to reality. He glared at me fiercely. What do you want? Sign this agreement, or else this evidence won't just end up with your relatives. But also, I made my point without overstating it, yet he immediately understood my threat. To keep his job, he suppressed his anger and signed the agreement. After the family dinner ended, all the relatives were seen off, and my mother-in-law returned to her hometown. He and I appeared together in the living room once again. Dean stood in the center of the living room, his eyes burning with unwilling anger. He stared at me intently, as if trying to see right through me. Lillian, do you think it's over just like that? You've ruined me like this. I won't let this go. Dean, all of this is your own doing, from the moment you betrayed your marriage. You should have expected this day to come. He suddenly took a step forward, his hands clenched into fists. He seemed about to strike, but upon seeing my resolute gaze, he halted his movement. Fine, you're ruthless, but don't forget, we once had beautiful memories too. Can you really be this heartless? Making me leave with nothing. Beautiful memories. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. What beautiful memories did we ever have? Are you referring to those days when I was fawning over you while you looked down on me from your high horse? Dean remained silent for a moment, then pulled out his phone from his pocket. Do you think I don't have a backup plan? I have dirt on you too. If I expose this, you won't get off easy either. I knew it. The so-called dirt is an experience where I was almost raped by a thug on my way home from work. Not to mention that I wasn't actually raped, even if I had suffered such harm. I don't consider this to be any kind of leverage. A woman's virtue is never beneath her skirt. Is this considered leverage? Dean clearly didn't expect me to be so firm. He hesitated for a moment, but ultimately put down his phone. You're something else, Lillian, but I'm telling you, I won't let you off that easily. I looked at him with a face full of disdain, my eyes brimming with contempt for his lowly tactics. Dean, you're really at your wit's end. You actually think you can use this as leverage against me? Don't you find yourself ridiculous? Dean's face twisted with anger, veins bulging on his forehead. Don't get too carried away. If this gets out, your reputation will be ruined. How will you stay in the company? What will your so-called new friends think of you? First of all, this isn't something shameful. It's victim blaming that makes people like you think it can be used as a weapon. Secondly, I have a clear conscience. And I'm not afraid of anyone knowing. I straightened my back. As for you, if you really spread this matter, it will only make more people see your ugly face. Then you can just wait to be despised by everyone. Dean seemed to have been hit where it hurts, and he frantically waved his phone. Don't push me. I will really send it out. Go ahead, send it. If you send this message, what you'll lose won't just be your job and reputation, you'll lose everything. Of course, he didn't dare. Even if he were to send it, it wouldn't be under these circumstances. With that, he turned and slammed the door as he left. Watching his retreating figure, I let out a long sigh of relief. A few days later, I went to see Dean several times, wanting to get the divorce certificate with him, but he has been avoiding me. That day, I went to his company to look for him as usual. Before I even reached his office, I heard the sound of Jessica's laughter coming from inside. Without hesitation, I quickened my pace and walked to the office door. Pushing open the door, I saw Dean and Jessica standing by the desk. Seeing me appear, both looked flustered, clearly not expecting me to show up so suddenly. Jessica was the first to react, forcing a faint, insincere smile. Oh, sister-in-law, what brings you here? I gave her a cold glance, ignored her, and walked straight toward Dean. Dean, I've been looking for you these past few days. How long do you plan to drag this out? You must come with me today to get the divorce certificate. I'm very busy right now. I don't have time to go through any divorce procedures with you. Stop putting on an act here. Do you think hiding will let you avoid the divorce? At this moment, Jessica couldn't help but interject. Lillian, can you stop being so aggressive? Dean doesn't want a divorce. Can't you have some self-awareness? I turned my head sharply, my gaze shooting toward Jessica like a knife. What do you think you are? Who gave you the right to speak here? Don't push all the blame onto me. Matters of the heart involve both parties. You couldn't keep Dean's heart, so who can you blame? I laughed and clapped. Jessica felt uneasy under my gaze. Fine, since you're all so shameless, I won't hold back either. Dean, if you don't go with me to get the divorce certificate today, I'll send all the evidence of your affair to your company tomorrow. Jessica remained aloof. She didn't even bother to glance at me, engrossed in admiring her manicure. You, this jealous woman, are truly ridiculous. Calling someone a mistress just because you see them with a man. I looked at this so-called strong, independent woman who prides herself on loving women with a half-smile. I leisurely opened the surveillance video stored on my phone. It was a clip of them kissing passionately in the car. Jessica froze in place, staring at the video in disbelief. Dean glared at me fiercely, saying, Lillian, you're ruthless. Then, he turned to Jessica and said, you go out first, I need to talk to her. I, however, was unwilling to let her off so easily. I pointed at her bag. Miss Jessica, you have to leave the bag behind. My bag? On what grounds? I cut her off directly. That was bought with our joint marital property. Aren't you supposed to be an independent, strong woman? How could you let a man buy such an expensive gift and even accept money transfers from him during the holidays? Jessica's face instantly flushed bright red. She glared at me fiercely, as if she wanted to tear me apart. You're talking nonsense. I bought this myself, don't you dare slander me. As she spoke, she instinctively hugged the expensive bag tightly. I sneered and calmly took out my phone. I pulled out Dean's receipt for this bag and waved it in front of her. Open your eyes wide and see clearly, the purchase time, location, and the pair are all clearly written here. What else do you have to say in your defense? Jessica's eyes began to flicker, and she looked pleadingly at Dean, hoping he would speak up for her. However, Dean was currently filled with regret and had no time to spare for her. He waved his hand impatiently. Leave the bag here first. We'll talk outside. Jessica exploded like a powder keg that had been lit. Dean, what do you mean? You were the one who gave it to me, and now you want it back just because your wife made a scene. She then turned and yelled at me. Lillian, you lunatic, are you that desperate for money? You'd even snatch a bag I've used. I took a step forward, looking directly into her eyes. Don't refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit, if you don't cooperate. I won't just take back this bag, I'll make you cough up everything. Hearing these words, Jessica turned pale, her hands gradually loosened, and she reluctantly threw the bag to the ground. You're ruthless, Lillian. Just you wait, I won't let this slide. Jessica unwillingly walked out of the office, not forgetting to shoot me a fierce glare over her shoulder. Dean watched Jessica's departing figure and let out a heavy sigh. Lillian, are you satisfied now? You've ruined everything. Only Dean and I were left in the office, the atmosphere so oppressive it was suffocating. Fine, I'll go with you, but you'd better not try anything funny, or I won't let you off. I should be the one saying that. We arrived at the Civil Affairs Bureau. During the process of handling the divorce procedures, Dean remained sullen and silent. When the staff handed us the divorce certificates, I felt as if a heavy weight had finally been lifted from my heart. Stepping out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, I walked forward without looking back. Sunlight spills over the body. I know, I have finally completely freed myself from this painful marriage and welcomed a new life of my own. You're really ruthless, Lillian. I underestimated you. Not as ruthless as you. Dean, you've been guarding against me all along. If I hadn't been guarding against you, I would truly be left penniless by you today. Actually, even though he left with nothing, he didn't really lose out. He had been wary of me even before we got married. His house and car were all registered under his mother's name. I never knew how much he earned. On the surface, our shared assets only amounted to a little over $1 million. I later found out that most of his salary had been transferred to his mother's card under the pretext of filial piety. His mother had no idea there was so much money on this card, because this card was Dean managing and using it himself. The lawyer told me that the money I gave to support the elderly couldn't be recovered, but to my surprise, after learning the truth, my mother-in-law secretly transferred the money from the card back to me. Even now, Dean still doesn't know the money in the card is gone. The day before we were to get our divorce certificate, my mother-in-law called me. Child, it's Dean who wronged you. On the other end of the phone, my mother-in-law's voice choked up, and my eyes welled with tears. I'll do it to accumulate blessings for him. For his sake, I've made a will. After I pass away, the property under my name will be yours. I was so shocked that I couldn't speak. No matter how much my mother-in-law likes me, she shouldn't give all the money to me. Dean is, after all, her child. But then my mother-in-law's words made me understand. You have a child now, you need to take good care of yourself. I was completely stunned. I hadn't told anyone about the pregnancy. So how did my mother-in-law know? I knew you were pregnant the first moment I saw you at the airport. This child has no fate with our Fu family. Consider this money as compensation from me, his grandmother. Actually, there was one more crucial reason why he suddenly agreed to register the marriage. Jessica is pregnant. We haven't had any children all these years. He has low sperm count, and is well aware of it. Now that I've finally made up my mind to divorce him, the child comes along. How absurd. Perhaps the more you lack something, the more you want it. As soon as he found out Jessica was pregnant, he lost his composure. He was never satisfied with the divorce agreement I forced him to sign. So, he was extremely conflicted. He wanted to give Jessica and the child a home, but he couldn't accept divorcing me like this. That's why he's been avoiding me all this time. Also, this is the end for us. Don't bother me anymore, and don't come to our company to cause trouble. Don't worry. "This place is unlucky, I don't want to come here, and those pieces of evidence, as long as you don't provoke me, I won't release them." After the divorce, I really didn't bother him anymore. I wanted to enjoy my single life, but little did I know, someone didn't want me to be happy. It was only last night when I saw Jessica's update that I found out Dean got promoted successfully. Without my obstruction, his promotion went very smoothly. These days, I often find myself thinking, did I let Dean off too easily? But when I think of my mother-in-law, all my resentment toward Dean fades away. However, I never let my guard down, vaguely feeling that Dean would not let it go. Sure enough, a few months later, I suddenly encountered a series of inexplicable obstacles at work. Some important collaborative projects were inexplicably cancelled, and clients became distant toward me. At first, I thought it was a coincidence, but after some investigation, it seems that behind it all, there is the shadow of Dean. Through some connections, he has been fiercely competing with me for orders in the industry, attempting to sabotage my career. I was not defeated by these setbacks. Instead, I quickly took action. I began actively communicating with those clients whose collaborations had been cancelled. I visited them in person with a sincere and detailed plan, explaining the conspiracy behind it all. Most clients expressed understanding, appreciated my professional attitude and crisis management skills, and were willing to reconsider working with me. To enhance my competitiveness, I invested more time and effort into strengthening the team's capabilities. I organized team members to participate in various professional training sessions, encouraging innovative thinking and the development of more competitive products and service solutions. In a crucial industry bidding project, Dean resorted to any means to secure the project, even maliciously lowering the bid price. I did not blindly follow the trend but instead highlighted the unique value and long-term benefits of our proposal. In the end, with our solid capabilities, we successfully won the bid. He learned of the result, a flicker of surprise flashing in his eyes, but soon, that sinister expression returned to his face. "Lillian, I didn't expect you to hold out this long. Dean, did you really think these petty tricks could bring me down? You're too naive. Everything you've done will only drag you deeper into the mire." I turned and walked away. In return for his malicious targeting of me during this period, I exposed all the evidence of his affair with Jessica to the public, and demanded that Jessica repay the joint marital assets she spent during Dean and my marriage. Jessica was straightforward and sent me the money directly. She even teased me, "You must be really desperate for money. Perhaps she thinks she married a wealthy man." Revealing their affair evidence won't affect Dean much now. He has already been promoted successfully. Dean also came to mock me. "What, are you this poor after divorcing me?" Seeing his attitude, I knew he was still unaware of what his mother had done. I really look forward to the day he discovers the truth. I later found out that Jessica and Dean had already gotten their marriage certificate. It was the day after Dean and I went to get our divorce certificate, but they didn't hold a wedding. Perhaps because they themselves felt it was disgraceful. Jessica frequently updated her social media feed. She resigned and is focusing on staying at home to prepare for childbirth. She often shares her maternity photos in her updates, but there's no mention of Dean. Many people curiously ask her who the father of the child is. She replied uniformly, "Sorry, everyone. The child's father has a special job and it's not convenient to disclose." I laughed out loud. What kind of special job is it that can't be revealed? Clearly, it's because they're afraid of being seen by their colleagues. After all, anyone with common sense can tell that their union was the result of an affair during marriage. Jessica and Dean's married life was not as wonderful as they had imagined. Dean previously targeted me maliciously at work with various misdeeds, which were discovered by clients, causing his career to plummet. The executive from that bidding project, which Dean maliciously undercut, is a leading figure in the industry. That executive later spoke out about the incident and even declared they would no longer cooperate with Dean. As this news gradually spread throughout the industry, Dean's reputation was completely ruined. Former clients who had intended to collaborate with him cancelled their partnerships one after another, and he repeatedly hit walls. Meanwhile, Jessica's pregnancy expenses kept increasing day by day, which intensified the conflicts between the two. Dean was wary of Jessica and didn't tell her about his mother's bank card either, so much so that now Dean still doesn't know there's no money left in the card. On the other hand, I secretly went abroad to give birth to the child. If anyone asked, I would say the child's father had passed away, because life was such a mess. Dean didn't have the time to bother me either. I have actually kept in touch with my mother-in-law. I also let my mother-in-law video chat with my daughter. As time went by, my mother-in-law's health gradually deteriorated. In her final days, I stayed by her side and took care of her attentively, and Dean and Jessica were unwilling to take care of the elderly. Dean's friends even joked that he had a way with managing his wife. They thought it was his skill that made me, his ex-wife, take the initiative to care for the elderly. I ignored their sarcasm and focused solely on accompanying my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law looked at me and the child. Her eyes filled with both relief and reluctance. Lillian, you are a good child. I believe you will take good care of yourself and the child. I nodded with tears in my eyes, my heart overflowing with gratitude for my mother-in-law. After my mother-in-law passed away, Dean learned that his mother had already made a will, leaving all her property to me. He was furious, believing that all of this was a scheme I had orchestrated. He came to me aggressively, wanting to reclaim those assets. Lillian, you wretched woman, you must have used some trick to deceive my mother into leaving all the assets to you. Dean, your mother did this because she saw your true character. These assets are her compensation to me, and her trust in me. Jessica also shouted from the side. Don't think you can take all this property for yourself. We won't let this go. I sneered. Go ahead and sue. I have my mother-in-law's will, and everything is legally sound. If you keep making unreasonable trouble, I won't mind making things even more embarrassing for you. And, Dean, it's been 2 years, haven't you checked that bank card at all? Are you that afraid of being discovered by Jessica? Just because he was afraid of being caught by the ever-suspicious Jessica, Dean didn't dare touch that bank card at all, because all his electronic devices were installed with surveillance software by Jessica. Every time he spent money, Jessica would question him in detail. Upon hearing this news, I couldn't help but reflect that it takes a villain to deal with a villain. They are a match made in heaven. Dean turned pale. You said, the bank card. That card held almost all of his assets, amounting to over 20 million. He staggered a few steps and called the bank's customer service Jessica right in front of her. I just watched quietly like this. All three of us clearly heard the customer service representative repeatedly explain to him that there was no money in the card. Dean held the phone with a trembling hand, his face instantly turning as pale as paper. His eyes widened, fixed on me as if he wanted to devour me alive. Lillian, what on earth did you do to that card? That's my money. His voice turned sharp and piercing with anger and despair. Jessica snapped back to reality at that moment. She charged toward Dean like a madwoman. She tore at his clothes while screaming hysterically. Dean, how dare you hide so much money behind my back, you bastard. Now the money is gone. How are you going to support me and the child? Dean stumbled from her grasp, nearly falling to the ground, and he pushed Jessica away forcefully. How dare you say that? If it weren't for your constant suspicion, would I have to be afraid to even touch my own money? The two of them started brawling right in front of me, hurling insults at each other, completely losing all sense of dignity. Grandma left the money to me, it was her decision. And it's the retribution you deserve. Dean, seeing my resolute attitude, he was utterly devastated. He collapsed to the ground, his eyes vacant, muttering to himself, it's over, everything is over. Jessica, seeing that she couldn't get any advantage from Dean, turned her spearhead toward me again. I looked at her disdainfully. What do you want to do? Just bring it on. I have my mother-in-law's will, everything is legal and reasonable. Jessica glared at me unwillingly, then turned and dragged the devastated Dean away. After returning home, Dean drowned his sorrows in alcohol all day, neglecting the children. Jessica looked at him like this, her heart filled with regret and anger. Jessica tried to find a job again to ease the financial pressure, but when potential employers learned about her relationship with Dean, they all rejected her job applications. At her wit's end, she began to covet the property my mother-in-law left to me. One day, Jessica came to my company with her big belly. Lillian, don't get too cocky. I'm telling you, that property has a share for me and my child, and you must give it to us. Jessica, don't delude yourself. Mother-in-law's will is crystal clear. This property has nothing to do with you. Besides, everyone knows about your affair with Dean during your marriage. How dare you come asking me for money? At this moment, the company's security arrived and escorted Jessica out. Jessica was unwilling to give up at this point. She and Dean scoured for so-called evidence, attempting to reclaim the property through legal means. However, in court, their so-called evidence was full of loopholes. My lawyer refuted each point with strong arguments. Ultimately, the judge dismissed their lawsuit and issued a severe warning to Jessica and Dean for their malicious litigation conduct. The moment I stepped out of the courtroom, I breathed a long sigh of relief. I knew that no matter what challenges the future might bring, I had the confidence to face them. My daughter and I will both have a wonderful life. Story 2. I lost a bet with a colleague. She demanded that I use the boss's photo as my profile picture for a day. After much persuasion, I bargained it down to 1 hour and reluctantly changed it. To my surprise, an hour later, the boss's profile picture suddenly changed to my photo. I fell silent. Alright, that's it for today's meeting. As the department head walked out of the conference room, colleagues around started checking the time on their phones. It dragged on for a full 27 minutes. Who guessed the closest time just now? Colleague Lisa excitedly stood up, raising her hand and saying, Me, I just guessed 27 minutes. All eyes in the room turned to her at once. We had just made a bet, given that our department head is notoriously long-winded and prone to dragging things out. We quietly placed bets on how long this department meeting, originally scheduled for 45 minutes, would actually last, bet on how long he can drag it out. Clearly, Lisa won the bet. Her gaze swept over us, and she suddenly chuckled. Lisa, go easy on us. Lisa, you know, we have the best relationship. Colleagues all tried to sweet-talk her into agreeing, but I found it a bit hard to say, mainly because my relationship with her is a bit awkward. There was a project before that Lisa really wanted to take on, but the department head assigned it to me instead. She probably thought I was competing with her behind the scenes. Since then, I could sense Lisa's subtle hostility toward me. Lisa stood with her hands on her hips, pointing at each one in turn. You, bring me breakfast for a day. You, be my assistant for a day. You, at this moment, Lisa was like an emperor holding the power of life and death. And the colleagues she pointed to were a mix of joy and worry. Soon it was my turn. Noticing Lisa's gaze fixed on me, I felt inexplicably nervous. She chuckled softly and said, You, use Mr. Frank's photo as your profile picture for a day. I looked up, staring at her in disbelief. Before I could argue, colleagues around me had already spoken up for me. This is going too far. You could easily lose your job over this. Yeah, with Mr. Frank's personality, who would dare to provoke him? Maybe we shouldn't go with this punishment, Lisa complained. We agreed that the loser should accept the outcome. So why does it change when it comes to Letitia? I pursed my lips and pleaded with her. Can we change to something else? She said firmly. No, she looked at me. Changing your profile picture is so easy, you don't even have to do anything else. Don't act all innocent when you're actually getting off easy. Okay, changing the profile picture is indeed easy. But the key point is, the profile picture I want to change is of the company's biggest boss, Frank, and he's the most difficult boss to mess with. As my colleague said, I might just lose my job over this. Is this what you call taking advantage and still playing innocent? I was about to beg for mercy, Lisa added. Besides, Mr. Frank doesn't even know you. Do you even have Mr. Frank as a friend? Maybe by the end of the day, not many people will even notice you changed your profile picture. Just for fun, her last 3 words were directed at the other colleagues. Apparently, Lisa convinced some people with these remarks. Indeed, Letitia didn't add Mr. Frank as a friend. How many of us here have added Mr. Frank? But isn't the danger precisely because he is Mr. Frank? But Mr. Frank is so busy, he wouldn't have time for this kind of thing. Right, Lisa chimed in. Exactly. So Letitia, just go ahead and change into it without worry. I'm still hesitating. The reason for my hesitation is that I'm not just friends with Frank, I even have a marriage certificate with Frank. Frank did get married. Although it was a flash marriage with no emotional foundation, we chat almost every day. He would routinely ask me what time I get off work, whether I want to ride in his car, what I want to eat for dinner, topics like that. This also means, if I use his photo as my profile picture for a day, he will definitely notice. He might even overthink it, suspecting that I'm hinting at something. I really don't want to add unnecessary emotional undertones to this pure relationship, so I'm quite hesitant. Lisa frowned and said critically, if you can't handle playing like this, you shouldn't have agreed to the bet with us in the first place. You can't say that it was only supposed to be a game from the start, right? When it involves the big boss, anyone would be cautious, wouldn't they? But there's no need to be cautious about this. Mr. Frank doesn't even know who Letitia is. But what if this gets to Mr. Frank's ears? The surrounding people began to argue. I took the opportunity to pick up my phone and sent a message to Frank. What are you doing? Frank replied to me instantly. Preparing for a meeting. What's up? My heart skipped a beat, and I quickly asked, how long will it take? About an hour and a half. Why? I replied with nothing, and immediately had an idea. I looked at Lisa. I can swap, but only for an hour. Taking advantage of Frank's meeting break to change the avatar can perfectly avoid all problems. Afraid that Lisa wouldn't agree, I added, if you don't agree, then just consider me a poor sport. I won't participate in such activities anymore. Sorry everyone. Oh, there's no need to make such a fuss. An hour still counts as a punishment. Don't let such a small matter harm the team's harmony. After persuasion from other colleagues, Lisa finally reluctantly agreed. Alright, 1 hour it is. I deliberately waited a moment. I waited until Frank's meeting started before taking a screenshot of his ID photo from the company website and setting it as my profile picture. The moment it was set successfully, my profile picture became his photo. To be honest, it's really creepy, even though he's very handsome. Using his photo as a profile picture is just creepy. Just looking at it feels like it's shortening my lifespan. I didn't dare to take another glance. I whispered, "It's done," then put away my phone, trying to numb myself with work. But perhaps the more you don't want something to happen, the more it does. Within that hour, the number of colleagues reaching out to me privately surged. "Holy crap, what's going on with you? My dear, you nearly scared me to death." If I hadn't checked the note, I would have thought my WeChat was haunted. "Are you out of your mind, Mr. Frank? You dare use his photo? Spirits of heaven and earth, demons and monsters, reveal yourselves now." "Sorry, I didn't know about you and Mr. Frank. Let's just pretend I never confessed the day before yesterday. Could you please not report me to Mr. Frank? These are colleagues from other departments who are unaware of the situation." I explained to each of them with a pained expression. More and more people started private chats, and some even sent me screenshots of their department group chats, with my name paired with my avatar. The person exclaimed in amazement, "I thought Lou BU was already invincible. But this person is even more formidable. Whose general is this?" Colleagues comment, "You're famous." I was about to cry. The moment the countdown alarm rang, I felt as if I had been redeemed. I hurriedly tried to change back to my original profile picture. Unexpectedly, my colleague sitting next to me suddenly exclaimed, "Oh my God." I looked at her. She looked at me even more horrified, her lips trembling for a long time before she said, "Letitia, Mr. Frank's profile picture has been changed to your photo." It took me a few seconds to process what she meant. Instinctively, I reached for my phone to check Frank's profile, but I stopped as soon as the screen lit up. No, doing so would reveal the fact that I have Frank's contact information. I forced a calm expression, feigning shock. "How could that be? Really?" My colleague shoved their phone screen right in front of my face. There, unmistakably, was Frank, who had just changed his profile picture, and he even posted it on his social media feed. Although it was just a post of an article from the company's official account, but Frank, the three characters along with the profile picture being my photo. How utterly bizarre this scene is. I was almost scared to the point of fainting. Countless words were stuck in my chest. After holding back for a long time, I managed to utter one sentence. How could this be? Frank, wasn't he in a meeting? How did he know that I changed my profile picture? The key point is, even if he knew, why did he change his profile picture to me? I don't even know how to explain this. If I changed my profile picture to his, it might be somewhat understandable, but him changing his to mine, will my colleagues misunderstand? Although the relationship between him and me is real, I really don't want to be misunderstood like this. My mind is in turmoil. I instinctively wanted to contact Frank, but Lisa walked over leisurely and said, "Sorry, Letitia, I have a friend who knows Mr. Frank. I just shared this with him for fun, and I didn't expect Mr. Frank to find out." I looked up at her. She said the words of apology, but there was not a hint of remorse in her eyes. "Are you doing this on purpose?" Lisa looked innocent. "Don't blame me. I had no idea this would happen." I silently looked at her. "Just for fun." Lisa raised both hands to clarify, "And I didn't expect it. I was just casually joking with a friend, saying maybe Mr. Frank could also use your profile picture, and he actually went and did it." Lisa slightly lowered her head, observing my expression. "You wouldn't mind, would you?" Now I understand why Frank would know, why Frank changed his profile picture to me. I was actually a bit angry. But Lisa was still waiting to see me make a fool of myself, so I smiled slightly and said, "I don't mind, that's good." She seemed very kind. "If you need to explain to Mr. Frank, you can contact me." Overwhelmed by emotion, I forgot to conceal it. "Are you close with Frank?" Lisa paused for a moment, seemingly surprised that I had called Frank by his full name. After a moment, she said, "After all, I bear some responsibility. With profile pictures like yours, anyone who doesn't know the situation might get the wrong idea." She had a look of watching a show. I didn't bother with her anymore. I also completely gave up on the idea of contacting Frank. Damn Frank, he actually teamed up with outsiders to bully me. After all, I am his legal wife. How could he do this? The more I think about it, the angrier I get. And yet, this person remains completely unaware, contacting me as usual. "Shall we go home together today?" I slammed the keyboard with a thunderous noise. "Not going back." Frank didn't understand. "Is it not going back with me? Or not going back at all?" I got even angrier. "None of your business." Frank wisely didn't send any more messages. I stared intently at the chat interface between him and me. His profile picture is me, and mine is him. Anyone who doesn't know the situation would think we're publicly showing off our relationship. How ironic. I took a screenshot and sent it to my best friend. Just about to complain, she had already filled the screen with exclamation marks. Sally, you guys announced it. I was speechless for a moment, deleting the unfinished complaint in the dialogue, arguing, this is clearly Frank's evidence of guilt. Sally, this is clearly an official announcement. I'm even more speechless. I simply told her everything that happened today, emphasizing Frank's terrible behavior of helping Lisa instead of me. My best friend instantly got angry. That bastard. Divorce him. I felt relieved. After work, I went straight to my best friend's place. We ordered takeout and complained about Frank while eating. How could he do this? Even if there's no love between us, I'm still his wife after all. How could he take Lisa's side? My phone dinged. It was Frank who sent a photo using my profile picture. The dinner he made, stir-fried asparagus with shrimp, stuffed green peppers, sautéed bok choy, and 3 delicacy mushroom soup, all my favorite dishes. I snorted, averted my gaze, and continued grumbling. And what baffles me the most is how he actually follows Lisa's every word. What kind of friend is that? He changes his profile picture just because she tells him to. Since when has he ever been so overboard? My phone buzzed again. Frank. What did you have for dinner? Should I save some food for you? I muttered to myself. Save it for your Lisa. I was about to complain more, but my best friend stopped me. Something's not right. What's not right? What if what Lisa said isn't true? My best friend said. Someone like her definitely has character flaws. Telling little lies is pretty normal for her. I insisted, but Frank really did change his profile picture. He saw that you changed yours, so he changed his too. After a moment of silence, I spoke up. He has no reason to do this. My best friend was puzzled. What do you mean no reason? He thought you were going public, so he went along with it and made it official. What I didn't dare admit was, the moment I found out Frank had changed his profile picture to mine, a similar thought had crossed my mind, but this thought was quickly Lisa shattered, so now I just find it ridiculous. I shook my head, denying reality. We're not in the kind of relationship that can be made public. Others might not know how we got married, but you do. He has no feelings for me, and my best friend lifted her chin, interrupting me, I think is still quite affectionate. On the phone was Frank's latest message. What time are you coming home? Do you need me to pick you up? I was at a loss for words. On the surface, Frank is indeed a very good husband. He is caring, considerate, and attentive. One could say he spares no effort in looking after me. But, in the few months since we got married, we've been sleeping in separate rooms. We don't even hold hands normally, let alone hug or kiss. What loving couple acts like this? My best friend stroked her chin and studied me. From the sound of it, you seem rather regretful. I just want to make it clear. He and I aren't the kind of relationship where he'd change his profile picture for me. My best friend sighed. Forget it. Let's not talk about him. Let's drink. I ended up staying at her place that night. Before going to bed, I checked my phone. Frank hadn't sent any more messages. Only after clicking into the chat did I realize he had changed his profile picture back to the original one. Everything returned to how it was at the beginning, as if nothing had happened today. Even the most gossip-loving group chats weren't discussing the profile picture drama. They were heatedly talking about Frank's new WeChat Moments post. No gambling anywhere in the company. I specifically clicked into his moments to check, but after scrolling through everything, I couldn't find that post. What's going on? Did he block me? I'm even more confused. It's not like I made him change his profile picture, so why did he block me? I called my best friend to analyze. What do you think he means by this? My best friend glanced at the time, studying him at 1 a.m. You must be in love with him. I panicked and quickly put my phone away. Go to sleep, late to bed, naturally late to rise. Not to mention that the straight line distance from my best friend's house to the company is even farther than from mine and Frank's. I rushed as fast as I could. I arrived at the company just in time to clock in. There was a breakfast waiting on my desk. I recognized the logo on the paper bag immediately. It was from that one unique bakery near my home. Even before opening the bag, the rich aroma of baked almond croissants wafted into my nostrils. I felt around and found a bottle of yogurt placed beside it. This is my standard breakfast. I shuddered. Could this breakfast have been sent by Frank? A colleague nearby answered my doubt. Mr. Frank sent someone to deliver it early this morning. One for each of us. Hurry up and eat. I'm a bit flustered. Why did he send so many? Another colleague answered me. Only our department has them. It feels like we're blessed because of Lisa. Yeah, Lisa. Why didn't you say earlier that you know Mr. Frank? Lisa was already beaming with joy. I don't really know him. It's a friend of mine who does. They're close, so I get to benefit from it too, another colleague said. Anyway, we still have to thank you. I was worried Mr. Frank's post last night was meant to punish our department, but who knew we'd receive his caring breakfast delivery first thing in the morning? Another colleague cupped her chin with both hands, her eyes full of longing. Is this a case of doing something for one person, but treating the whole department? Unlucky. I silently set that breakfast aside, and just then, the culprit had to send a message. I left breakfast on your desk, remember to eat it. I ignored it. It was something everyone got. Why did he have to make it sound like he bought it especially for me? I check my schedule to review today's work. The gossip around me continues. No wonder Lisa dared to have Letitia change Mr. Frank's profile picture yesterday. She has someone backing her up. You and your friend really know how to have fun, actually getting Mr. Frank to change his profile picture to Letitia. Haha, I totally misunderstood yesterday. Me too. I thought Mr. Frank and Letitia had something going on. Lisa smiled faintly and said, Letitia, you don't mind, right? Consider this breakfast as Mr. Frank's way of apologizing to you. I rolled my eyes in secret. The colleagues around were full of gossipy delight. Wow, this is like the ancient tale of lighting the beacon to amuse the nobles, isn't it? It's just a pity for Letitia. Haha, to make Mr. Frank obey every word. Your friend must be a real beauty, right? Mr. Frank is chasing after your friend, isn't he? I'm truly amazed. I thought someone with Mr. Frank's personality would never chase after girls, but it turns out he's so good at pleasing them. I tried very hard to immerse myself in my work, but the voices around me drowned out everything. I find it unbearable, especially after learning that Lisa's friend is a girl. This unbearable feeling reached its peak. Lisa said cheerfully and teasingly, oh, I'm not sure what their relationship is. If there's good news, I'll remember to let everyone know. I heard my own voice refuting Lisa. Is that so? But Frank is already married to me. Is your friend trying to be the other woman? The surroundings suddenly fell dead silent. All eyes turned to look at me. The sharp ringing in my ears faded, and only then did I realize what I had said. My heart is pounding wildly, as if it's about to leap out of my throat. I try hard to swallow, the first to snap out of it. Lisa has already started her mocking mode. She laughs uncontrollably. Did I hear that right? Did Letitia just say she married Mr. Frank? Oh my god. Pinch me quick, I think I'm hallucinating. Other colleagues quickly caught on and chimed in with disapproval. Letitia, that's way too big of a joke to make. Yeah, we all know Mr. Frank isn't married. Why would you suddenly say something like that? Even if you have issues with Lisa, you can't just spread rumors about Mr. Frank like that. Be thankful there are no outsiders here. Or else if this gets to Mr. Frank's ears, you'll really be in for it. This situation was beyond my expectations. I had to reiterate, I really married him. Frank, it's absolutely true. The looks from my colleagues around me are getting stranger. Some even carry a hint of disdain. Even the colleague I'm closest to, sitting beside me, quietly pulls my hand under the table. Stop talking. Lisa laughed and stood up directly. Letitia, you really need to know when to stop joking. Leaving aside the fact that I've never even heard of Mr. Frank being married, you say you and Mr. Frank are already married. Do you have any proof? Don't you not even have his contact information? Meeting Lisa's gaze, I said, I have his contact information. Oh, you do, Lisa said with a mix of surprise and realization. Don't just pick someone from your friends list and pretend they're Mr. Frank. You know, I can always ask Mr. Frank to confirm. She waved her phone. I pursed my lips and decided to throw caution to the wind. Go ahead and verify it then. Verify it right now. Go ask Frank if I'm really his wife or not. Even though I don't know Frank very well, I'm well aware that he wouldn't lie about something like this. No matter what ambiguous relationship he and Lisa's friend had, the fact that he and I got our marriage certificate is an ironclad reality. He doesn't lie, nor is there any need to lie about something like this. I'm confident about that. Lisa slightly changed her expression. At this moment, I felt somewhat relieved that I had only said I was married to Frank. If I had said that Frank and I had a very good relationship as a couple, then the one who would be proven wrong next would be me, under everyone's watchful eyes. Lisa picked up her phone. After a moment, she put it down and gave me an innocent smile. That doesn't seem right. You're clearly Mr. Frank's wife. So why am I the one being asked to verify it? She leisurely sat down. This matter really shouldn't involve me stepping forward. You should handle it yourself. The other colleagues also turned their gaze toward me. There was really no need to back down from this. I picked up my phone and dialed Frank's number. Just before it connected, I hung up, and a terrifying thought suddenly crossed my mind. What if Frank really doesn't cooperate? Wouldn't I completely lose face? I thought. I can't be impulsive anymore. I need to get in touch with him first to coordinate and make all the arrangements. Lisa saw me hang up the phone, and her expression brightened. Huh, why did you hang up? Wasn't it Mr. Frank on the other end? At least let him say a few words so we can hear Mr. Frank's voice. Sighs of disappointment came from among the colleagues. I said, there's no need to make a call. Facing Lisa's triumphant gaze, I said calmly, Frank is right upstairs. Wouldn't it be better if I invited him down to speak with you personally? Lisa's face suddenly changed, a collective gasp rippled through the room. Just before leaving the office, I could still hear Lisa's scornful voice. Do you really believe she can invite Mr. Frank? Just wait and see, with such a big fuss. I wonder how she'll handle the aftermath. I can only say that as confident as I was when I left the office, I was equally panicked when I stepped into the elevator. I was thinking about that 1 in a million possibility. What if Frank really doesn't cooperate with me? The mouth is his, so naturally he can say whatever he wants. If he doesn't want to speak, there's nothing I can do to force him. I leaned against the cold elevator wall, feeling somewhat helpless. Frank, how could he have connected with Lisa's friend? Anyone but Lisa. The thought of her hypocritical, smug smile makes me furious. I can't be sure, in Frank's heart, who matters more to him, me? His insignificant wife, or Lisa's close friend he's so passionate about? A sudden ringtone interrupts my thoughts. It's Frank calling, needing a favor from him. I softened my voice even more. Hello? Frank paused for a moment, cleared his throat. You just called me. Sorry, I didn't answer. Is there something you need? I asked directly. Where are you right now? Just got back to the office. Can I come up to see you? I asked softly. I have something I want to say to you. Cough. Frank, this time he was really choking. He coughed a few times, clearing his throat as he spoke. Yes, come on up. I've given your employee card access. The elevator will take you directly to my floor. Okay. I obediently hung up the phone. Frank seemed very easy to talk to. Most of my anxiety faded away, and I thought he probably wouldn't refuse me. After all, it was him who first offered to take care of me. Now that I need him, shouldn't he step up? I swiped my employee card and pressed the button for his floor. The elevator reached the 10th floor in the blink of an eye. As I stepped out of the elevator, his assistant was waiting by the door. Are you Letitia? Please follow me. Mr. Frank is waiting for you. I followed closely behind him, watching him push open the door to the CEO's office with such ease and composure. I stepped inside. Frank was standing by the floor-to-ceiling window. His silhouette looked somewhat lonely. Hearing the sound, he turned around, looking even more haggard from the front. There were even dark circles under his eyes. I wondered to myself, did I come at a bad time? Is he having trouble at work? Frank motioned for me to sit on the sofa and began pouring me a cup of fruit-infused floral tea. Once poured, he promptly sat down as well. He placed his hands properly on his thighs, slightly bowing his head, looking as if he was awaiting instructions. I glanced over and asked, "What's wrong with you?" "It's okay." He sat up straight, cleared his throat, and said, "You mentioned earlier that you had something to say to me. What is it?" I carefully considered my words in my mind. Should I be straightforward or more tactful? Suddenly raising my eyes, I unexpectedly met Frank's hesitant and faltering gaze. My heart warmed, and I spoke without thinking. "I want to make our relationship public at the company." "What?" Frank widened his eyes, his voice even trembling. I had never seen him react so strongly. After all, Frank has always given me the impression of being calm and steady, but his reaction now was as intense as a cat with its fur standing on end, afraid he might refuse. I quickly pressed on. "I know this puts you in a difficult position, but I really want to do this. You once said you would take care of me, and now the time has come when I need you. Can you help me?" Frank was stunned for a long moment before slowly asking, "Are you going to make our marital relationship public?" I was even more stunned. "Do we have any other kind of relationship? You ignored me all day yesterday and didn't come home. I thought you were going to." He suddenly fell silent. When he looked at me again, there was a sparkle in his eyes. "I agree to go public. I'll do it right now." He made a move to pick up his phone and muttered quietly, "What's so difficult about this?" I stopped him. "Wait." Frank looked over in confusion. I shyly whispered a request. "Could you hold my hand and walk downstairs to say something to my colleagues?" I added, "I want it to be public like this." Frank was so shocked he couldn't even blink. "What's going on?" There was no other way. So I had to spill everything about Lisa. Fearing he might be concerned about Lisa's friend, I emphasized, "I know this is difficult for you, but..." I braced myself and said, "But after all, we are husband and wife now. In a way, what you and she are doing could be considered emotional infidelity. Of course, I'm not trying to blame you. I might even step aside for you and her afterward. But could you help me first?" Frank's expression shifted between gloom and uncertainty, murky and unclear. I whispered, softer and softer, "Please, I beg you." Frank finally calmed down. "Lisa, who is she?" I thought he was unwilling and muttered, You even changed your profile picture because of her yesterday, and now you're asking such a question. Didn't I change my profile picture yesterday because of you? I was stunned. I looked at him, and he looked back at me. You suddenly changed your profile picture to me yesterday, and I thought you were hinting at something, so I changed mine too. But Lisa clearly said it was her friend who told you about this. During yesterday's meeting, someone did call me, which inadvertently made me aware of your profile picture change. I quickly wanted to say, then this must be Lisa's friend, but Frank spoke faster. But he's a man. I was even more stunned. Frank said, a partner's cousin, not very close. Do you need me to call him now to verify? I nodded, then shook my head. It was already very chaotic. Frank had unknowingly crouched down in front of me at some point. He didn't touch me, but his eyes followed me closely. I haven't been ambiguous with any girl. Do you believe me, rather than believing him? What concerned me more at the moment was the fact that he had changed his profile picture. The avatar changed because of me. To be honest, this seems even harder to believe than him changing his avatar because of Lisa or Lisa's friend, just because of me. Why did you? I murmured softly. Is this also a way of caring, to preserve my dignity? Frank looked into my eyes. He said nothing, just kept looking. For a moment, I almost understood what he meant, but the phone in my hand suddenly rang. It's the department head. I hurriedly answered the call. The usually long-winded and procrastinating boss started yelling at me right away. Letitia, what on earth are you doing during work hours? I heard from others that you even dared to impersonate Mr. Frank's wife. If you don't want to work here anymore, just get out now, be in my office in 3 minutes, and if you can't explain this whole thing clearly, The phone was suddenly snatched away by Frank. He interrupted with a stern expression. Mr. Gary, is that the tone you use to speak to my wife? There was a 2-second pause on the other end of the line. Mr. Frank. Frank didn't listen to his excuses and hung up directly. He looked at me, a hint of pleading in his eyes. Now, will you hold my hand and walk downstairs with me in public? I walked into the elevator side by side with Frank. He was very busy, yet still found time to make calls and give instructions to some people about some matters. I studied his handsome profile through the elevator's interior wall. That question surfaced in my mind once again. Why, Frank, why would he do this because of me? I was absolutely certain that there was no affection between us. And getting married with him was a complete misunderstanding from start to finish, all because of a child that never existed. It was a cliché one-night stand beginning. I was set up by my previous company's boss, and while escaping, I stumbled into the wrong room in a daze and ran into a drunken Frank. My memory of that night isn't very clear. I only remember that I was the one who made the first move. Frank said he would take responsibility for me after waking up. But everything was an accident to begin with, and besides, the experience of sleeping with a top-tier handsome guy was far better than with a bald boss. I rejected his marriage proposal. He didn't insist, but instead started taking responsibility in another way. He helped me get rid of the unscrupulous boss and the colleague who set me up, sending them both to prison. After that, he and I never contacted each other again. We met again downstairs at the company. I never expected that my second job search would lead me right to his turf. The newly issued pre-employment medical report in my hand shows that I am pregnant. Being pregnant does not affect my employment, but it affected Frank's judgment of me. He once again proposed getting married, wanting to take care of me and my child, at the same time. He also mentioned that if I didn't want to keep the child, he would still need to stay and take care of me. After all, he had a responsibility in all of this. At that time, I was completely stunned. My periods have always been irregular, a lingering issue from my childhood. On top of that, with all my blood relatives now gone, this child held an indescribable attraction for me. I went back and forth in my mind, and finally decided to keep the baby. Getting married and starting the new job happened at the same time. I still remember that day clearly. It was the day I moved all my belongings to Frank's place and, before I even had a chance to unpack, found an anonymous letter on the desk. It was written by a woman who joined the company at the same time as me. Her wording was tactful, but the letter was filled with absurdity as she told me that, in fact, I wasn't pregnant. It turned out she had discovered her own pregnancy before the medical checkup, but, learning from past experiences, she was terrified that a major company like RH might fire her for it, so she secretly swapped her urine sample with mine. In the letter, she expressed relief that I had been hired. At the same time, she once again apologized, hoping that this matter hadn't caused me any trouble. I truly felt at that moment that fate was playing a trick on me. How could it not be troubling? I even got married to Frank because of this child, only to be told the very next day after getting the marriage certificate that this child never even existed. Frank sat facing each other, neither of us speaking. My luggage, large and small bags, was still scattered messily in various corners of his house. A deathly silence fell. I twisted my fingers and tried to speak. Since the child doesn't exist, maybe we should just call it quits, after all. We only just got the marriage certificate. Frank looked up from the letter, his expression serious as he said, "Marriage is not a game." He tossed the letter aside and reiterated, "Besides, it's my duty to take care of you. Even without a child, I should still look after you." He began to unpack and arrange my luggage, and so, I settled into his home. These past few months since we got the marriage certificate, just as he said, he has taken very good care of me, but that's all there is to it. Nothing more. Sometimes I even wonder if having that child would have made things better. After all, that non-existent child is the very foundation of this marriage. If we had a child, my daily interactions with him wouldn't be so rigid and repetitive, even as the child's parents. It's possible that Frank and I might develop some feelings for each other. Frank suddenly grabbed my hand. I looked at him in shock as the elevator doors opened on both sides. He smiled gently, his voice steady. "We're here. Let's go." Frank held my hand and led me into the department's large office. The room fell completely silent. This was clearly the scene I had been most looking forward to from the very beginning. Now that it's actually happening to me, I feel inexplicably timid. The department head, Mr. Gary, had already stepped forward to greet us. Frank didn't look at him, just said, "I'll say a few words and then leave." He changed from holding my hand to wrapping his arm around my shoulder. Turning me around to face everyone together with him, "Letitia is my wife." Frank spoke softly, yet his voice carried enough to fill the entire office. "The reason I didn't make it public is because I felt personal matters don't need to be brought into the open. My marital status is irrelevant. But I never expected it would cause her harm. She is my wife, and I, Frank, will only ever have this one wife." Frank glanced at me, tightened his arm around my shoulder, and said solemnly, "I like her very much, I respect her deeply, and I love her dearly. I hope everyone will stop misunderstanding her from now on." As soon as he finished speaking, the HR manager walked in with a few people. Frank smiled. Now to settle some personal matters, instead of resolving it privately, he straightforwardly asked in public, "Lisa, who is that?" No one responded, no one stood up, but everyone's eyes turned in unison toward the direction where Lisa was. Frank instantly understood. "I changed my profile picture yesterday as a playful gesture with my wife. I thought she wanted to go public with our relationship at the company, which is why I was so eager. But what does any of this have to do with your friend?" Lisa slowly stood up, her face pale, not uttering a word. Frank feigned confusion. "Which friend of yours?" "Liam, isn't he a guy? Isn't he your boyfriend? When did I ever have anything ambiguous with him?" A series of questions made Lisa immediately kneel in apology. "I'm sorry, Mr. Frank, sorry, it's all my fault, it was me." Frank cut her off. "You've done nothing wrong to me." Lisa turned her gaze toward me. Somehow, facing Frank's easily spoken apology, I found myself utterly unable to say it. Frank deliberately waited a few seconds. Seeing Lisa still stubbornly refusing to apologize, he said in a low voice, "Proceed with her resignation first. As for the defamation matter, have legal draft the documents later." Frank finally looked over. "It doesn't matter if you don't apologize to my wife. You can say it in court." Lisa's fingertips dug fiercely into the edge of the table. Other colleagues looked at her with either contempt or disgust. Moments later, Lisa suddenly became hysterical. "You can't do this. I'm Liam's girlfriend. You can't fire me. Even for his sake, you can't." Frank interrupted her. "What face does Liam have?" He usually didn't speak so bluntly, but now he was going all out, not to mention Liam. "Even if his partner's cousin came begging to me, the answer would still be the same," Lisa murmured. "But you two seem to get along so well. You even delivered breakfast to our department for him this morning." Frank let out an incredulous laugh. "I brought breakfast for my wife. What does that have to do with Liam?" Lisa finally realized she had been tricked. He was so frightened that he collapsed to the ground. Frank didn't look at her again and said loudly to everyone, "If anyone else here is dissatisfied, has complaints, or disagrees with how I handled this," he pointed at HR, "you can leave with Lisa, on the spot, right now. It'll be quick." Hearing this, the colleagues who were watching the scene instantly fell silent. Lisa slumped to the ground, suddenly turned to look at me, and let out two sarcastic laughs. No wonder Letitia managed to get hired even though she was pregnant. Turns out she was already involved with Mr. Frank all along. I froze for a few seconds, instantly recalling that anonymous letter. I looked at her in disbelief. So it was her who swapped it. After the anonymous letter incident, I did try to figure out who this person was, but none of the girls who joined at the same time later showed any signs of pregnancy. And puzzled as I was, I didn't dwell on the matter any further, so it was Lisa. Frank obviously thought of this matter as well, but he more quickly considered the potential negative impact Lisa's words might have on me, and calmly explained, first, regardless of whether someone is pregnant or not, colleagues who receive an employment offer can smoothly join RH. This has no direct relation to whether Letitia is my wife or not. Secondly, at work, I did not give Letitia any special treatment. Everything she has achieved is the result of her own hard work and has nothing to do with me. I cannot take credit for it. Finally, please have manager Sue help me report this to the police. She falsified her pre-employment medical report, which constitutes fraud, and can be sent directly to jail. Lisa was so angry that she yelled out loud. Frank covered my ears and held my shoulder as he led me out. As we passed the busy HR manager, he didn't forget to add, process the resignation for Mr. Gary as well. Managing a subordinate like this during work hours, I think his position has run its course. Behind us was utter chaos and noise. Sheltered in Frank's embrace, I suddenly felt an unprecedented sense of security. We returned to the CEO's office together once again. Frank never let go of my hand the entire time. I quietly let him hold my hand, racking my brain for something to say. In the end, I only managed to blurt out, "Thank you for what happened earlier." He looked down at me. I pursed my lips and added, "I misunderstood you yesterday. Sorry, I should have asked you first." He pulled me to sit down, still holding my hand. I could even feel the warmth of his palm. Frank seems nervous. I'm a bit nervous too, and I ramble on. So Lisa is the one who wrote me the anonymous letter, but she hasn't been pregnant these past few months. I haven't seen any signs of it. Maybe she had a miscarriage, Frank speculates. Could be, I say quietly. I don't understand why she dislikes me so much. Letitia, Frank suddenly called me. I felt inexplicably nervous. Do you think the way we were before was good? He didn't specify, but I understood what he meant. It's two strangers forced to share the same roof, sleeping in separate rooms, not holding hands, not hugging, not kissing, just like roommates. Yet the nightstand is locked with 2 marriage certificates. Frank said, "I don't think it's good." He let go of my hand and instead knelt in front of me, holding my knees. Originally, I wanted to wait for you to adjust. I didn't want you to resist me. I wanted you to gradually accept me in your life. But now I feel this is too slow. Letitia, I don't want you to misunderstand me, Frank said wearily. Last night I was really scared. You ignored me, and I panicked. I was afraid that changing my profile picture had made you angry. I was afraid I'd offended you. Especially after I found out it was a bet, I was terrified you'd leave me because of it. But I never imagined you ignored me because of a misunderstanding. Frank stared into my eyes. If you're willing to understand me, you'll know there could never be anyone else but you. Letitia should have this confidence, and as my wife, you should have even more confidence. I realized belatedly. Frank, are you confessing? Yes, he smiled. I like you. My fingertips went numb at that moment. Suddenly at a loss for words, I shrugged my shoulders awkwardly. Frank's hand rested on the edge of the sofa to my right, and he leaned in, gently kissing the tip of my nose. My eyes widened, and I froze. He whispered, "I'll always be like this from now on, so get used to it, okay?" His gentle whispers were like the most potent aphrodisiac. My cheeks instantly burned, and I knew without looking that I was blushing. He observed my reaction, slowly, again and again, gently placing kisses on the cheek, the dimple, and then the corner of the mouth. His breath brushed against my face, and I slowly felt a wave of shyness, clutching at him helplessly. For today, let's just get used to it this far, okay? Frank didn't pull away, only saying, "It's been almost half a year since we got the marriage certificate." I was startled. "You just kissed me 4 times. His voice slightly hoarse, not even meeting the quota of 1 kiss per month on average. I tightly closed my eyes and said with resignation, "Go ahead." This adaptation training lasted until the end of the workday. When I finally managed to pick up my phone, I realized that what had happened today had already been heatedly discussed through 3 rounds. The focus of the conversation was no longer on me, nor on Frank, it was on Lisa. I felt inexplicably embarrassed. Previously, being trapped in Frank's arms, I had neither the mind nor the time to think about some practical issues. Now this problem is right in front of me. I look at the satisfied man beside me. How am I supposed to go back to the department and work tomorrow? This scene, this situation today, how can I face my colleagues with a straight face from now on? Frank rarely paused. He bowed his head and bent over, speaking in an extremely ingratiating tone. How about coming to work at the CEO's office tomorrow? That way we can get used to each other every day. I glanced at him and said arrogantly, "Wishful thinking. Keep dreaming." End.